Don't forget to pass in the ID, which we'll be using over here. So we want to edit a particular note ID. Let me just put the ID over here. So I want to show you guys something with the dynamic routing. So this is notes/ID. So let me save this and I'll use the browser this time. So notes ID. So we're supposed to get, I think, notes 1. Yeah, supposed to get notes 1. But then look at this. If I pass in some random text like this, we end up getting note and then this random text. See? But then we want an ID to be a number. So, in this case, a user can just pass in anything and, it breaks the application or something like that. So, Leaf Router, for this case, has prepared something. You may be familiar with it because other systems also use it. So, there's something known as PCRE based patterns. So, we can just do this \d plus, right? \d plus, and then we keep this as ID. As I was saying, this variable doesn't really need to match what's over here, but then it needs to make sense. So PCRE based patterns, you can actually check the leaf docs. It contains the most commonly used PCRE based patterns. So this one just makes sure that whatever is passed in here is a number or an integer. So if we go to this route right now, we find that this route doesn't exist, you see. But then if we should pass in a valid ID, it comes here and we get note 1 exactly. See, so most of the time we'll be using this PCRE based patterns instead of these dynamic IDs. Yeah, so you'll be seeing more of this than of this one here. All right. So are these all now? So there'll be this last one here, this last route here, and this one is going to be for delete. Okay, so I'll say delete note, delete note ID. So yeah, these are our basic routes. So I guess I'll talk about request and response now. All right. So let's just make sure that these are working. So note/id, so 1/edit, and we get edit note 1. Delete. Yeah. All right. So that's working perfectly. So let's move on to request and response objects. So I'll start off with response. So let's look at this 404. So I'll just put this here. And you notice we get this. This is JSON, but then it's actually echoed as HTML right now. It's actually echoed as HTML, but you can see we encoded JSON and we're outputting it. So you might actually be wondering what's wrong, something like that. Well, we can actually fix this by saying use. Well, I'll put in the app variable here, and instead of using echo JSON encode blah blah blah, I simply say app response I'll actually say app response respond. So respond is one of the methods available on the response object. It's mostly used for APIs, and it allows you echo out JSON encoded data, but this time not as HTML like this one, but as neatly parsed JSON. So you can actually see that this is different, right? As I was typing this, you might have noticed this popped up to respond with code. So it's pretty much the same as respond, except that you can pass in a code. So I don't know. Let me just use 200, right? So 200 and reload, and then we get the message, and then we also get a code. This code isn't just passed in here, it's also passed into the response header. So it's actually neatly parsed. So let me look at this. Let me just demonstrate it over here. So I send this request, and instead of a 404, I'm actually getting status 200. Okay, that's because I passed in this 200 over here. So respond with code is actually a very powerful thing for especially building APIs, right? So that's respond with code. We can also use something throw air. So throw air is also just like respond and respond with code, except that this is mostly used for errors. So throw air breaks the application and echoes out something. So a response with a code, but then it breaks the application after that. It doesn't continue. So with respond and respond with code, if there was some other line of code down here, it would run that line of code. But then throw air breaks the application, so nothing else runs after that. So this is throw air. Supposed to get something similar. We get error and then the message. This message is what we passed in here. So message page not found, and we get this here. All right. So yeah, that's these are the basics of response. Actually, the API methods in response, but then there are actually a bunch more. Um, so we have um render. Oops. Render markup. So render markup, as the name implies, just simply echoes out HTML. So h2 something, I don't know, slash h2, and I'll do this in the browser. And we are supposed to get HTML, not JSON this time. And there we go. All right. And then there's the last one, which is render page. So render page actually echoes out something from a page. So we can have something like so let's say we had an